Hi, I'm Neil from 12 Green Bottles Wine TV, and I am here, as promised, to teach you this amazing trick that you can use to taste wine and learn how to pick out all of those fantastic flavours and be able to impress everybody with your vast knowledge and superior tasting skills. Now, before we go on to talk about the trick and how it all works, what I need to do really is just talk about wine and how it's made. But I'm not going to get too technical. That's not the purpose of this. What I want to do is just explain to you really how these flavours that we find in wine develop. So we've got lots of different types of wine. We've got white wines, which are made from white grapes. We've got red wines, which are made from, you guessed it, red grapes. And we also have rosé. I haven't got any rosé out, but a rosé would be made from red as well. And in fact, interestingly, we can make white wine not just with white grapes, but also with red grapes. As long as we don't let the juice get into too much contact with those lovely red skins, it will come out white. Anyway, while the wine is being made, it sits in one of these enormous fermentation vessels. That could be made of stainless steel, it could be oak. And what's happening inside there is that the yeast, which is in the vessel, is reacting with the sugars in the grapes and the flavour compounds which are found in the skins of the grapes, and it's creating fruity flavours. And those fruity flavours, fortunately, are quite common for different, or rather the fruit flavours themselves are similar for different grape varieties. I haven't really explained that well. Let's start again. If you've got, for example, a bottle of Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc, this is a very popular wine, as I'm sure you know, we know that that wine is going to taste of gooseberries, and it's going to have a sort of an aroma, a smell, which is like, some people describe it as asparagus, and some people say it's like mown grass, freshly mown grass. Everybody more or less agrees that those are the main flavours, but sometimes people might interpret them in slightly different ways. But fortunately, for each different grape variety, so for Sauvignon Blanc, for Chardonnay, for Merlot, for Shiraz, the main fruit flavours themselves, most people will agree on. And if we know what those flavours are before we start, getting the wine in the glass and drinking it, that will give us a head start. If we've got white wine, we're going to find flavours like citrus fruits, we're going to find apples, they could be golden, they could be green, we're going to find pears. If it's a white wine which is made in somewhere that's really hot, like an Australian white maybe, we're going to find tropical fruit flavours like pineapple, maybe mango. With red wines, we'll find flavours like berries, so we can have blackberries, blackberry flavours generally, or we can have red starberry flavours in red wine. We'll also get things like plums. So essentially, we know roughly speaking what all of these wines are going to taste like first, and we know roughly speaking what the fruit flavours are going to be. But what happens when wine's being made, as it's being fermented, is that we'll get some extra, some secondary fruit, some secondary flavours which are often not like fruit, and they can be flavours that come from the fermentation vessel. We can get things like oak, or we could get vanilla, or different spices. And then when they put the wine into the bottle, if it's a really good quality wine, we can develop tertiary flavours, and they can be things like tobacco, or it could be dark chocolate, for example. What we really need to know is the trick though, isn't it? And sorry to disappoint, but what we're going to have to do to cut this video down to the size which is right for YouTube is do that in part 2. So I'll see you in part 2 where we'll talk about the trick. Thank you.